Reddit. People who work for the super wealthy, what stuff have you seen? Worked as one of 4 full-time groundskeepers at a large estate. 46 acres of lawn to mow twice a week. 2 clay tennis courts, 3 pools, 1 for the main house and 1 for each of the 2 guest houses. 100-plus acre private lake with boathouse. No clue how big the whole estate was including the woods. Personal favorite was the 3-mile personal racetrack. But what really blew my mind was that he hosted his niece's wedding one summer, paid $350,000 to have this massive willow tree trucked in and planted by the lake for wedding photos. Only to pay another $50,000 to have it removed and the landscaping returned to its original state after the wedding because he did not like the look of it. I often do work for the wives of wealthy professionals. The thing that has always stood out to me is that if I tell them that something they want isn't doable, they respond with literal confusion. It isn't anger, it's confusion. They are so unaccustomed to not being given exactly what they want that it's as if they don't understand what is happening when they are told they can't have something. I used to work at a members-only golf/country club. There were members who had been actors, athletes, race car drivers, former CEO of Google, some major money and egos going on. There was one family that had 3 teenage kids, 2 girls and a boy. The mom and the girls were very attractive and knew it. They always looked amazing and had overly entitled attitudes to match. They were fancy. Well, the lady who washed the linens for the county club also did house cleaning for some members. This family was one of them. She said their multi-million-dollar home was a disaster filth zone. They basically did no housework in between having the cleaning lady there. Dishes piled with dried food that smelled, dirty clothes thrown everywhere, piles of crap all over, sticky floors, dog poop left on the floor. But the nastiest part was the bathrooms. She said they wouldn't empty their bathroom trashes and the ladies of the house would throw their used tampons on top of overflowing trash, so she had to pick up their used women's products thrown on the floor not even wrapped in paper. So these fancy bitches would walk around the club like they were so superior and look down on everyone, then would go home and act like wild apes throwing their trash and period products on the ground. The thought of being so out of touch that you decide it is beneath you to even be sanitary because you can just pay someone to do that for you is just beyond insanity. The CEO of the company I work for was the founder's son. Not an unintelligent guy for the most part. His dad made him start with the most basic jobs in the company and work his way through the different departments. Managerial staff was ordered, upon penalty of termination, not to treat him any differently than a new hire. So when he became CEO, he wasn't a bad guy to it for. Now, this is a company of over 10,000. One night, I'm working overtime on the late shift and we get this call. Hey! You guys. Got electrician? The guy is clearly drunk. We have no idea who it is or why he's calling our maintenance/engineering group. We ask who he is and he informs us, lightheartedly. He wants someone to take a ride to his house and figure out why the internet isn't working. This is an hour drive away. I volunteer. I was bored off my nut anyway. I get to the house, entry gate is smashed, section of the white horse fencing is gone, Jaguar is stuck in the field. Here in the house is dude, completely blasted. He's got a huge cut on his hairline. Are you okay, boss? I'm fine. Why? He asks, blood literally caked on his face. I accompany him to the bathroom and help him clean himself up, wash off the gash and put some bandaging on it. Then I corrected the internet, unplug. As I'm walking out, he asks me to do a shot with him. I comment, worried about my job, that it might be a bad idea. He agrees and hands me the bottle, take it home and do a shot later. Keep it. When I get back to work I look the stuff up. Never heard of it. It's a $1,500 bottle of scotch. The next day I'm at work early. About 11 in the morning he comes walking up. We're not going to be talking about last night? I tell him it's all good, awesome. A little bit later I get an envelope. There's a check attached for emergency tech support $5,000. Had a client come into our 3D printing office. His attention was immediately caught by a large industrial 3D printer in our showroom. Pulled out a credit card and bought a $250,000 machine on the spot. Best part was when we installed the machine at his facility. First thing he wanted to print was a meter-tall penis. Few weeks after the install we got a photo of him standing next to the meter penis. Money well spent. Not the craziest thing, but wild to me. I was working for a kind of well-off family during a summer. I went inside to get a drink and the mom was cleaning the kitchen, putting things away and such. She picks up a MacBook and says to me, "Hey, do you want this?" No one uses it. Got a brand new MacBook for college. My brother-in-law builds custom homes in the redneck Riviera belt of Florida. One day, he called me to come over to this $15 million beach house he was doing a complete remodel of. He was the original builder. He asked me to bring my truck and trailer. I show up, and he walks me through all 4 floors. He then says, the owners have removed all the stuff they want to keep. She has told me to dispose of everything as I see fit. Get what you want. Furniture, appliances, outdoor furniture, rugs, lamps, artwork, you name it. I don't know the value of everything I took home with me that day, but it was the highest end stuff I've ever seen. 4 floors of it, and I only got 1 trailer load because I simply couldn't fit anything else in my house. I likely had over $20,000 worth of furniture and appliances on that trailer. $40,000 per year on sports coaching and travel, each, for 2 kids. It was a better option than having them get into drugs or blow money in other destructive ways. When the oldest kid turned 22, he got mad at his mom and yelled at her, "All I know about is sport." She said, "I know. But you don't have a cocaine addiction and 3 pregnant strippers like your Uncle Mark." Pumped a bunch of money into the Malibu City Council in order to change a few seats. This would allow him to have the local ordinance changed so his front doors could be taller than 20 feet. An old boss did extremely well and sold off the lion's share of his ownership but wanted to stay involved in the company anyway, so he'd drive his absurd supercar to the office and just hang out. One day he came into the office and it was set up in such a way that the executive offices were in a little 2x2 office glass pod in the middle, with curtains for privacy if needed, and our rows were arrayed around them. He sat in his little glass office all day and cleaned his handguns. I'll say this though, he wasn't a bad dude. We may not have seen eye to eye on politics, but if you worked for the company he knew your name and would hang around and chat. Super generous around the holidays with time off and the big holiday party / door prizes / stuff of that nature. The company went way downhill when he finally let go of the reins completely. My sister is a butler for a super wealthy family and she told me a couple crazy stories. The family once got this super expensive rare breed cat and a few months later, the wife tells my sister she can feel the cat isn't quite happy in their house, so she asks her to take their private jet to drop the cat off in their mansion on Lake Como, Italy, so it could spend a holiday in the sun. That same woman would then sometimes berate my sister for buying soap in plastic dispensers instead of just soap bars because it's bad for our planet. They bought this insanely huge super luxurious cabin in one of the most expensive ski stations in Switzerland. They realized the cabin, more like a mansion really, right next to theirs was for sale and then bought that one as well just so they wouldn't have close neighbors. Years ago I used to work carpentry, mainly doing sunrooms. One of our clients was a brain surgeon who was married to a lawyer and they subsequently had a massive house on a large property. Their son was also some type of neuroscientist and with his parents' permission had yet another massive house built on this same property. Problem is, city ordinances prohibit 2 separate livable dwellings on the same property. Mind you, these houses were about a quarter mile away from each other. So to comply with the ordinances, they build a fucking wall between the houses. And this isn't just some dinky picket fence type of wall, it's a massive medieval style wall that has round towers with merlins and crenels, a gym midway through, and a massive $750,000 plus all glass sunroom, all the while being wide enough to have room for a walking path and a road for golf carts. Inside the wall. The city ordinance said only 1 livable dwelling can be on their property, so they just made a massive hallway between their houses. I did a male nanny, job for a rich couple who wanted someone to care for their kids. The wife didn't want a female nanny and I was in college, so it helped pay the bills. One day they asked, "Do you want to go to Hawaii?" Turns out the company that the husband was the COO of was doing an executive retreat in Hawaii. Instead of finding daycare in Hawaii for their kids, they thought it'd be easier to just pay for me to fly to Hawaii, care for the kids during the day, and then have my evenings or their family time free. So I went to Hawaii on their dime, had my own hotel room, they paid me for my time and gave me a large stipend for my own food / entertainment. I ended up with pretty much every evening off, so I got to spend it. During the day I brought their kids to the beach, we went hiking, and did some touristy running around. On top of that they gave me $5,000 in spending money in case any of the kids wanted anything. I had to show receipts, but when I tried to turn in the receipts the wife just said, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's only a couple grand," and never verified how I'd spent some of that money. I couldn't tell if she just trusted me implicitly by that point or if she truly thought the amount was so small it didn't matter. They were a really nice family, just very well off, which made just spending money on any problems the easiest answer. I actually got invited to the oldest daughter's high school graduation because she considered me a friend. Bodyguard: someone filthy rich with next to no class whatsoever. He bought a very sought-after rare classic car from a renowned Italian carmaker, had the roof taken off, painted it a ridiculous pink sparkle color and put it on the roof of one of his most central buildings in the middle of a large European city. The Italian carmaker offered to buy the car presumably because they were absolutely disgusted with what he'd done to the car and didn't want the abomination to get further exposure as they felt it damaged their brand tremendously. He sold it to them. Was then banned from ever purchasing factory new models from that brand ever again globally. Bartending at a fancy party in a very wealthy older couple's house where these people had art on display they had bought from museums. I was working in a room where 3 walls were glass and you could see this beautiful manicured garden with sculptures. When the sun started to set, these big floppy-eared white bunnies started to appear and frolic around the yard. I asked someone who worked in the house about the rabbits. The rich people bought them as a garden feature. Every once in a while they had to cull the rabbit population. The rabbits were decorations. This was also the night when I was making an older man a drink and he decided to ask me, "So, what are the poor people doing tonight?" The owner of my company had a customer pay off a giant debt by signing over a yacht to him. When he went to the marina to get the storage info transferred to his name and saw how much it cost to store the yacht there, he bought the marina. And that's been it for today. If you have any intriguing stories or opinions regarding the shared stories, please feel free to share them in the comments section below. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.